I never expected to become the villain in my own family's story. If you'd told me a year ago that I'd be sitting alone at my sister's engagement dinner, seething through clenched teeth while everyone laughed at my expense, I wouldn't have believed you. But here I am, 28 years old, dressed in an uncomfortable navy blazer my mom insisted I wear, sitting at the far end of a candlelit table at Limoncello, our town's go-to spot for celebrations. My name's Eric, and tonight was supposed to be about my sister Lauren. Instead, it became something else entirely. Lauren's always been the star of the family, the golden girl, for years younger than me, but somehow light years ahead when it came to earning our parents' praise. She was the straight-A student, the prom queen, the one with the perfect boyfriend. Meanwhile, I was the kid who quietly held things together when my dad got laid off, who took the night shift at the grocery store so I could help cover mom's medication without anyone having to ask. I never cared about the spotlight. Honestly, I preferred it that way. But lately, it feels like I've been fading into the background of my own life. Like I'm just a prop in someone else's happy story. The dinner was supposed to be small, just immediate family and a few close friends. Nothing too fancy. Lauren didn't want a big spectacle, or at least that's what she said. But the moment we stepped into the private room at Limoncello and saw the gold-trimmed menus, the florist-arranged centerpieces, and the damn live violinist tucked into the corner playing Ed Sheeran covers, it was obvious someone had gone overboard. That someone was Ryan, her fiancé, Mr. 6'2" with a Colgate smile. The kind of guy who wears loafers without socks and pulls it off. He greeted me with a slap on the back and a too-wide grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Eric, my favorite almost brother," he said, looking sharp. "Did you lose weight or just finally give in to a haircut?" He laughed like we were old college buddies. I offered a tight smile, already feeling the edges of my patience fray. "Just try to look decent for the occasion." "Mission accomplished," he said, then leaned in and whispered, "But next time, no need to go full funeral director. We're celebrating." I should have brushed it off. I wanted to, but there was something about his tone, light, teasing, but with an edge. Like he knew exactly how to poke at me without crossing the invisible line that would make him look like a jerk in front of my parents. The evening went on, filled with clinking glasses and glowing toasts. My mom beamed at Lauren like she was seeing her for the first time. Dad kept patting Ryan on the back and calling him son. I sipped my water and listened. Didn't say much. It's what I've learned to do when I'm around Ryan. Anything I say becomes an invitation for him to one-up me or turn it into a joke. I've stopped trying to match him. It's exhausting. But then came the toast. It started sweet enough. Ryan stood, glass of Prosecco in hand, and tapped a knife against it with the smug confidence of a best man's speech at a destination wedding. He waited for silence, then looked straight at Lauren. "I've said this 100 times, but it's still true," he began, his voice dipping into that performative sincerity he loved to use at parties. "I got the best girl in the world. Lauren, you're beautiful, brilliant, and somehow you still say yes to me, even when I leave my socks all over your place or mess up your Netflix algorithm." People chuckled. Lauren blushed and looked down, that demure way she does when she wants to seem humble. Ryan turned to the room, raising his glass higher. "But let's be real. When you get the best girl in the world, you also get the weirdest future brother-in-law." Laughter erupted. My mom nearly choked on her wine. My dad smacked the table. Ryan turned and gave me a playful wink. Eric's the kind of guy who reads instruction manuals for fun, who alphabetizes his spices, who still has his GameCube plugged into his TV. More laughter. I walked into his apartment last week and I swear it smelled like a library. But hey, at least we know he's not cooking meth, right? He took a sip of his drink, and people laughed even harder. My cousin Sarah actually clapped. I smiled. Or at least I tried to. I reached for my glass, but my hand was shaking slightly. It wasn't the joke. Not really. I've been called weird before. I've always been a little different, quieter, more observant. But the way Ryan said it, the way everyone laughed, it wasn't just a joke. It was a reminder that I'm not part of their shiny picture, that I'm the quirky background character in Lauren's movie. But here's the thing. Ryan and I both know something they don't. Something he hoped I'd never bring up. Something that happened last summer, while Lauren was visiting our grandmother in Michigan for 2 weeks. While Ryan was working late and missing her like crazy. I wasn't snooping. It fell into my lap, the way truth sometimes does when the universe gets tired of secrets. It started with a text. A message from an unknown number meant for someone else. A selfie of Ryan in a hotel bed, shirtless, grinning, captioned, "Wish you were here again tonight." I stared at it for a full minute before it registered. I didn't respond, just started digging. And what I found, let's just say it wasn't just one message. Or one girl. It was photos, emails, hotel receipts, Instagram DMs sent from a burner account that still had his unmistakable gym selfie as the profile picture. He wasn't being careful, because he never thought anyone would look. Because no one ever holds Ryan accountable. He's too charming, too smooth, too perfect. I saved everything. At first, I didn't know what to do with it. Lauren was so happy. She talked about wedding venues and Pinterest boards and our song, with this dreamy look that made my stomach twist. I told myself maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe he'd come clean. Maybe she already knew and they'd worked it out in private. But tonight, when he made that joke, when he laughed and everyone laughed with him, something inside me shifted. I looked around the table, at all the glowing faces, and I felt invisible. Again. Erased. Again. And Ryan? He was glowing in the spotlight like he always does. Except this time, he was glowing with the confidence of a man who thought he got away with everything. But he didn't. Because I know what he did last summer. And I have the photos to prove it wasn't just a vacation. And now, I'm done being the weird brother in the background. But before I do anything, before I decide how far I'm willing to go, I need to make sure I'm not the only one who sees the truth. And if that means burning a few bridges, so be it. I didn't say anything that night. Not at dinner. Not on the ride home. Not even when Mom kissed my cheek and said, "Wasn't that just the sweetest thing? Ryan really is such a hoot." I nodded like a good son and walked into my apartment like a man headed to war. The moment the door clicked shut behind me, I let out a long breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. The silence felt heavier than usual. Like my tiny apartment knew what I was carrying. I pulled out the folder I kept hidden in the back of my closet, beneath a stack of old tax returns and a shoebox full of wires I never used but couldn't bring myself to throw out. Inside were printed screenshots, backup flash drives, and a manila envelope marked July 15th, Indianapolis. The hotel receipt. 2 nights. Paid in cash. Under the name Eric Langston. My name. I hadn't noticed that detail until a week after I printed it out. That's when I knew Ryan wasn't just a cheater. He was calculating. And reckless. And not half as clever as he thought. But still, I waited. For weeks. I told myself I needed more proof. That I should sit down with Lauren first. Maybe even tell Dad, or drop a vague hint to Mom. But the real reason I didn't act? Because I knew no one would believe me. Not over Ryan. You see, this wasn't the first time Lauren's spotlight pushed me into the shadows. When we were kids, I remember winning a regional science fair for a project I'd spent 3 months building from scratch, an entire model of our city's sewage system, complete with moving parts and timed releases. I was 13. The judges were floored. I came home with a plaque and a $500 scholarship check. That same week, Lauren made the front page of the local newspaper for singing a solo at the middle school choir showcase. Guess whose photo Mom framed for the living room wall? It's always been like that. Ryan just made it worse. The weeks after the engagement dinner were a blur of bad coffee, sleepless nights, and endless smiling family group texts. Every other day, a new message from Lauren would pop up with some version of "Look what Ryan surprised me with." It was always something expensive, tickets to Hamilton, a custom leather-bound wedding planner, a just-because bracelet that probably cost more than my rent. "Isn't he just perfect?" she wrote once, under a photo of a breakfast tray with pancakes shaped like hearts. I stared at it for a long time. I wanted to reply something snarky, something bitter, but I didn't. Instead, I muted the group chat and opened the folder again. I stared at the photo of Ryan kissing the girl outside the hotel. Her face was turned, but his wasn't. His hand was on her lower back like he owned her. Like he forgot that same hand would be on my sister's shoulder a few hours later. I was done waiting. Or at least I thought I was. The real turning point came one Sunday afternoon in late October. We were at our parents' house for what Mom called a mini engagement brunch. No reason. Just a casual get-together. She made cinnamon rolls and those tiny egg muffins she always forgets to add salt to. Lauren was glowing in her oversized sweater, showing off her engagement ring for the 10th time that day, like she hadn't already posted 5 close-ups of it on Instagram with captions like, "Still pinching myself, ring sparkles." Ryan sat next to her on the couch, arm slung casually around her shoulder, like he'd been born into this family. Dad sat in his usual recliner, sipping lukewarm coffee and nodding at Ryan like he was auditioning for Son of the Year. I tried to keep my distance. I helped Mom in the kitchen, offered to clear plates, kept busy. Then Ryan brought up the bachelor party. "Oh, and Eric," he said, loudly, like he'd just remembered I existed. "I was talking with the guys, we're thinking Vegas. You in?" I blinked. "Vegas? Yeah, man," he said, as if we were buddies who went way back. "You're the best man, after all. Gotta go big." That stopped me. I looked at Lauren. "I'm the best man." She smiled brightly. "Of course you are. Who else would it be?" My heart thudded unevenly. I wanted to believe she meant that it was genuine. But I also knew what this meant. It meant I'd be standing at the altar, handing Ryan the rings, smiling in photos, giving a speech about the happy couple while pretending I didn't know everything. And Ryan knew that, too. That's why he wanted me involved. He was daring me, challenging me to stay silent. I forced a smile. "Sounds fun. Just don't bring your GameCube," he added, with another laugh. Everyone chuckled again, even Lauren, and something in me broke. The moment of betrayal came the next week. It started with an innocent enough text from my cousin Sarah. "Hey Eric, just wondering if you're okay?" I didn't mean to laugh so hard at dinner. Ryan's jokes just kinda catch you off guard. I stared at the screen, confused. "What do you mean?" She hesitated before replying. "The roast video. You know the one Ryan posted on Insta?" I didn't. So I went to Ryan's profile, which I'd blocked weeks ago. Unblocked him just long enough to see it. There it was. A 2-minute compilation he'd stitched together of clips from past family dinners, all with me in the background, saying something nerdy, spilling a drink, adjusting my glasses, tripping over a chair once during Thanksgiving. The caption read, "When your future brother-in-law is a sitcom character." The video had over 700 likes. The comments were full of laughing emojis. Even Lauren commented, "I can't with him sometimes." The top comment? "He looks like the kind of guy who corrects people's grammar in texts." Ryan replied, "He does. And he has." I don't remember setting my phone down. I don't remember walking to the sink. But I remember the sensation of cold water running over my hands, grounding me, stopping me from shaking. That was it. That was the moment. It wasn't the cheating. It wasn't the smug toasts. It wasn't even the hotel receipts. It was the way he made me into a joke. And worse, the way my own family joined in. That's when I knew. They weren't going to believe me. They were going to defend him. Unless I made it impossible not to. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up organizing everything. Screenshots. Timestamps. Even the photo of the woman he kissed at the hotel. I reverse image searched her face, found her Instagram, and saved a post she'd made 2 weeks ago with a tag location. "Weekend getaway with my favorite man." The man in the blurry background? Ryan. Wearing the same watch he wore to Lauren's engagement party. I compiled it all into a folder. Printed a few key photos. Even made a copy of the burner Instagram account where he was messaging other women, just in case he deleted it. I told myself I was preparing. But deep down, I knew I was about to go nuclear. And not because I wanted revenge, but because I finally wanted to be heard. To be seen. Not as the weird brother. Not as a punchline. As someone who mattered. As someone who was trying to protect his sister from marrying a fraud. And if they still chose not to listen, then they'd have to watch what happens when the background character finally walks into the spotlight. Because I wasn't just going to ruin the wedding. I was going to ruin Ryan. I didn't sleep much that week. You'd think that once you decide to burn it all down, once you really commit to it, your mind would find some kind of peace. Like the tension you've been carrying would finally give way to resolve. But instead, I felt like I was holding a live wire, buzzing with too much voltage to let go and too much fear to grab tighter. I had everything ready. The screenshots, the DMs, the hotel receipts, even a voice memo I'd managed to record when Ryan accidentally let something slip during a casual guys' night hangout. He'd said, laughing, "Look, I love Lauren, but every man deserves one last wild summer, right?" I pretended to laugh. Then I saved the audio with the rest of the evidence. But when Saturday came, the day of Lauren's bridal shower, I couldn't do it. Not yet. Mom had invited me to come by just to help set up, even though I knew I wasn't really wanted there. The whole event was mostly Lauren's friends and extended family, all swooning over Ryan and sipping pink mimosas. I showed up early with a box of pastries from that overpriced bakery Lauren liked. thinking maybe it would earn me a little goodwill. No one really acknowledged me. Mom gave me a distracted smile and a kiss on the cheek before asking if I could help blow up the she said yes balloons. One of Lauren's sorority sisters made a joke about Eric being the most responsible man in the room, which everyone took as hilarious for some reason. I pretended not to hear it. As I stood there twisting balloon knots, watching everyone float through the house like actors on a set I didn't belong to, it hit me. I was completely alone. Even Lauren, who used to braid dandelion crowns for me in the backyard when we were kids, was now a stranger. A stranger who called me E in public because Eric sounds too serious. A stranger who let her fiancé humiliate me in front of dozens of people and then doubled down in the comments. After I finished setting everything up, I slipped out without saying goodbye. No one noticed. Not even Mom. That night, I opened the folder one more time. And I hesitated. Because for the first time, I wondered what would happen after I exposed him. After the evidence was out. After the family blew up. Would it actually make me feel better? Would Lauren even thank me? Would anyone? I stared at the manila folder, then slowly pushed it back into the drawer. That night, I didn't touch it again. And the next morning, I went for a walk. It's strange how the smallest things can change your life. That morning walk turned into a habit. Just a lap around the block at first, then two. I left my phone at home. I needed the silence. I needed to remember what it felt like to just exist without someone hovering over me, mocking me, expecting something from me. I started waking up earlier, making real breakfast, reading again, not to impress anyone, but because it reminded me I wasn't stupid. I'd always loved learning. I just forgot what it felt like when no one was laughing at me for it. 2 weeks after the bridal shower, I joined a local coding boot camp. I'd always dabbled in programming, taught myself Python back in high school, even built a budgeting app once to help Mom track her prescriptions. I figured maybe it was time to take that hobby seriously. At first, I felt like an imposter. Most of the other students were younger, louder, more confident. But slowly, something shifted. I started answering questions, offering help. One of the instructors pulled me aside after class and said, "You ever think about teaching? You've got the patience for it." I laughed. I hadn't laughed in weeks. That same week, I reconnected with James, a guy I used to work with during my night shift days. He'd left to start his own design firm, and apparently it had taken off. He needed someone to help build out the tech side of a client dashboard. We got coffee, talked for 3 hours. 2 days later, he sent me a contract offer. For the first time in a long time, I felt useful, needed, not tolerated, but valued. Lauren called a few days later. She needed help figuring out how to export some guest list data from Google Sheets to her wedding website. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in me said to answer. "Hey, E." She chirped, like nothing was wrong. "You're still the spreadsheet wizard, right?" I paused. "What do you need?" She launched into her request like she hadn't completely vanished from my life the past month. Like we were still close. Like she hadn't laughed at Ryan's jokes or commented dead under his roast video. I walked her through it. Calmly, clearly. When she thanked me, I said, "No problem," and meant it. Not because she deserved it, but because I did. I was done letting other people's actions dictate my peace. Before she hung up, she added, "By the way, Ryan says hi. He's planning something special for the wedding. Says you're gonna love it." I didn't ask what it was. I already knew. Ryan wasn't done trying to humiliate me. He was just waiting for a bigger stage. And this time, I wasn't going to freeze. But I wasn't going to lash out either. I was going to be ready. The invitation arrived the next week. Handwritten calligraphy, wax-sealed envelope, custom stamps. I opened it slowly, like it might explode. Inside, a card with floral embossing, soft pink ink, and gold trim. "You are cordially invited to celebrate the wedding of Lauren Rose Carter and Ryan Alexander Miller. Venue, the Glass Garden Estate. Date, June 10th. Dress code, formal elegance." I stared at it for a long time, not because of what it said, but because of what it meant. There it was, the stage. The moment Ryan had been building toward all year. He thought I'd show up awkward and isolated, forced to smile through another toast, another roast, another public jab at Weird Eric. He thought I'd fold, but he'd underestimated one thing. I wasn't the same person he met a year ago. I wasn't lonely, or directionless, or desperate for their approval anymore. I had built something. Quietly, steadily. I had a new job, a steady income, a few new friends from the boot camp, and even a budding friendship with a barista named Zoe who always remembered my name and spelled it right on the cup. And most of all, I had proof. Proof of everything he'd done. I didn't need to throw it like a grenade. I just needed to wait for the right moment. Because sometimes revenge doesn't come in the form of yelling or screaming or public meltdowns. Sometimes it comes quietly, calculated, and devastating. The next few weeks passed in a strange blur. Lauren texted me a few more times, asking about hotel bookings, playlist ideas, and once, if I'd be willing to write a little speech for the rehearsal dinner. I told her I'd think about it. She seemed surprised, almost hurt. I wasn't mean. I wasn't cold. I was just calm, measured, unshaken. Ryan tried texting once too. Bro, rehearsal dinner's gonna be wild. You better bring that weird charm of yours, lol. I didn't reply. Let him wonder. Let him sweat. Then came the last straw. 2 days before the wedding. I was dropping off a package at my apartment complex's mailroom when I heard a voice behind me. Eric. I turned. It was Ryan. Looking smug as ever, dressed in one of those workout hoodies that probably cost more than my suit. Was hoping I'd run into you, he said. Why? He laughed. Don't be like that. We're practically family. I didn't say anything. He leaned in slightly. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Got something planned for the rehearsal dinner. It's gonna be hilarious. I stared at him. Another joke at my expense. He shrugged, grinning. Come on, man. You're good at taking a joke. People love it. Do they? He blinked. For just a second, his confidence wavered. I stepped forward. You think you're clever, I said, voice low. But I see through you. He tilted his head. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled just a little. You'll find out. Then I walked past him, calm and steady, like I hadn't just lit a fuse. Because I had. And it was already burning. Ryan didn't chase after me. He didn't have to. His smirk lingered long after I turned the corner, and I'm sure he believed that whatever fear he'd tried to plant in me had rooted. That was his style. Playfully cruel, performative, always 2 steps ahead because no one ever bothered to challenge him. But this time, I wasn't walking away. I wasn't going to sit at the rehearsal dinner and be the punchline again. I wasn't going to clink my glass and fake laugh at some slideshow of my most embarrassing childhood moments, probably narrated by Ryan, complete with snide commentary and dramatic pauses for crowd reactions. I knew him too well by now. This wasn't just about marrying Lauren. It was about conquering me, making sure I stayed beneath him in every room. His final victory lap. But I had something he didn't. The truth. And more importantly, the patience to use it the right way. So I started setting the stage. The next morning, I paid a visit to Zoe, the barista I'd been friendly with for the past few months. We had a quiet understanding. She didn't ask too many questions, and I didn't overshare. But over time, our morning chats had started to carry more weight. She'd complimented my hoodie one day. I'd offered to fix the cafe's glitchy printer the next. That morning, she noticed the look on my face before I said anything. What's wrong? I handed her a USB drive and a folded note. You said you do photography, right? She blinked. Yeah, part-time. What? I hesitated. Then exhaled. I need a favor. It's for my sister's wedding. Her eyes narrowed as she took the drive. What kind of favor? I need someone to be in the room with a camera when everything changes. She stared at me. Didn't smile. Didn't joke. Finally, she said, when and where? That was the first piece. The second came from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Her name was Maya. She and Lauren used to be close, best friends, really, until Ryan came into the picture. Then suddenly, Maya stopped showing up at birthdays. Stopped texting back. Stopped coming around altogether. But I'd always remembered how close they were before he arrived. I found her on Instagram, sent her a short message. Hey, it's Eric, Lauren's brother. I need to talk to you. It's important. She replied the next day. I was wondering when someone would finally ask. We met at a quiet park in the middle of the city. She brought coffee. I brought the folder. She didn't even flinch when she saw Ryan's face in the screenshots. I always knew something was off, she said. Lauren wouldn't listen. He always charmed his way out of everything. I nodded slowly. She still won't listen. Not unless she sees it. Maya tapped a manicured finger against the photo of Ryan outside the hotel, arm around the mystery woman. She'll believe it. Especially if it comes from me. I stared at her. You do that? Maya gave me a look that said everything. You think I just disappeared because I got busy? He told Lauren I was jealous. That I tried to kiss him one night. Made it seem like I was the problem. She chose him. She paused. But I never forgot. I knew then, Maya wasn't just helping me out of pity. She wanted justice too. That was the second piece. The third came when I finally sat down with James, my friend who'd brought me onto the dashboard project. We were at a quiet ramen bar on a rainy Tuesday evening, waiting for our food. I need your help with something, I said carefully. He raised an eyebrow. Work stuff? Not exactly. I explained the situation. Not every detail, but enough for him to understand. The folder, the screenshots, the upcoming wedding, Ryan's manipulation. My plan to expose it all without turning it into a screaming match in front of 100 people. James listened, didn't interrupt. When I was done, he leaned back and crossed his arms. So what's the move? I want to run a private stream. Just for one person. He blinked. A stream? I nodded. I want Lauren to see something during the rehearsal dinner. In real time. No chance for Ryan to talk over it. No chance for her to dismiss it as fake. James gave a low whistle. You're serious? Completely. He thought for a moment. Then said, I can set that up. Secure link, one-time access. You sure she'll open it? I'll make sure. And just like that, the third piece clicked into place. The next few days were a whirlwind of quiet preparation. I sent Maya a voice memo with everything she'd need to say. She rehearsed it with me 3 times, wanting to get it right. We coordinated with Zoe, who agreed to pose as a hired event photographer. No one would question why she had a camera. James handled the tech, setting up the secure stream, embedding the video from the folder into a crisp, undeniable montage. Photos, messages, timestamps, everything. With Maya's narration layered on top. There'd be no room for denial. No space for it's not what it looks like. Just the truth. Raw and unedited. Then came the rehearsal dinner. Held in a rented event hall decorated with gauzy white curtains and little twinkling fairy lights. Everyone dressed to the nines. Soft jazz playing. Champagne flutes glistening in the dim light. And Ryan, front and center, as usual, schmoozing with every guest like he was hosting a talk show. I walked in late on purpose. Wore a tailored charcoal suit I'd saved for interviews. No one noticed at first. Then a few heads turned. Even Lauren looked surprised. Ryan came over, that too smooth smile already forming. Eric, wasn't sure you'd show. Glad you made it. I nodded. Wouldn't miss it. He looked nervous, just for a split second. And that's when I knew. He felt it. Something was off. But he didn't know what. That was the whole point. The plan was simple. At exactly 8:15 p.m., Maya would text Lauren a link. Zoe would be nearby with a camera, capturing her reaction. The stream would last 3 minutes. Just long enough for the truth to sink in. Then we'd see what Lauren did with it. But the moment the clock struck 8 o'clock, Ryan grabbed the mic. I froze. He was jumping the gun. Before dinner, he said, standing in front of the room with the confidence of a TED speaker. I just want to say a few words. About family. I glanced at Zoe. She looked back at me, concerned. He continued. Some of us grow up with the perfect family. Some of us don't. But if we're lucky, we marry into one. And I gotta say, I feel like I hit the jackpot with Lawrence. Polite laughter. My stomach clenched. But of course, no family is complete without its lovable oddballs. Here it comes. Ryan turned toward me. And I gotta say, Eric, man, you've always kept things interesting. The room chuckled. My throat tightened. So tonight, he said, I thought I'd share a little something I put together. Just a few memories. You know, good fun. He waved to someone by the DJ booth. A screen flickered to life behind him. And suddenly, a slideshow began. Of me. Clips, photos, awkward moments, stitched together with silly music. Me spilling gravy at Thanksgiving. Me tripping at Lauren's graduation. Me singing karaoke off-key with a wild look in my eyes. The room roared with laughter. Ryan turned to me mid-presentation, winking. Don't worry, it gets better. It didn't. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run out and never come back. But then my phone buzzed. 8:15. Right on time. A text from Maya. Sent. She's opening it now. I looked up. Lauren, across the room, was frowning at her phone. She read the message. Paused. Then clicked. And the laughter around her slowly dulled. Like her world had gone quiet while the rest of the room kept spinning. Her face changed. The color drained. She looked up at Ryan, who was too busy laughing to notice. She looked back down at her phone, then back at him. Her hand trembled. Zoe was already snapping photos. Ryan turned to the screen again. But the audience had stopped laughing. They were looking at Lauren now. And Lauren? She was walking forward, one slow, deliberate step at a time, straight toward Ryan. Lauren didn't say a word as she walked up to Ryan. Not at first. The music had stopped. The room had shifted. People were still holding forks midair, champagne flutes halfway to their lips, unsure whether this was part of the show or something much, much worse. Ryan stood there, microphone still in hand, confusion spreading across his face like a slow infection. "Lore?" he asked, a chuckle lingering in his voice. "You okay?" She looked up from her phone and met his eyes. "I just watched a video," she said, her voice calm. Controlled. Too calm. Ryan tilted his head, still trying to perform. "What? Like one of the slideshows?" "I told you. Nothing too embarrassing." "It was of you," she cut in. Ryan blinked. "It was of you kissing another woman outside a hotel. It was of your text messages, your burner account, your little weekend getaway under my brother's name." The silence that followed was deafening. No one moved. Ryan's jaw twitched. What are you talking about?" Lauren raised the phone and played the last 10 seconds of the video for him. Maya's voice narrating over the image of him shirtless in a hotel mirror, time-stamped, location tagged. The voice said, "This is the man you're marrying. This is what he did while you were visiting your grandmother. This isn't a mistake. It's a pattern. You need to decide whether you want a marriage or a lie." Ryan stepped back like he'd been slapped. "Lauren," he stammered. "That's not. This is taken out of context. It's fake. Somebody doctored this." Zoe snapped another photo. Click. "It's all edited. This is Eric's doing. He's always hated me. He's obsessed. He probably faked this whole." "I checked the hotel reservation," Lauren said, voice still eerily steady. "Under Eric's name. Paid in cash. You even used his email address." "I didn't. I called the hotel 10 minutes ago. That stopped him. I had them read back the security deposit number. It matched the one you used for our anniversary weekend in Aspen." The blood drained from Ryan's face. Lauren took another step forward. "You know what the worst part is? I didn't even need the video. I knew. I ignored it. I told myself I was just being paranoid. That it was stress. That you were just flirtatious." She laughed bitterly. "God, I defended you to everyone. Even when Maya tried to tell me what you said about her, I chose you. And you made my brother the joke in all of this." Ryan was floundering now. "Lauren, baby, please, let's just step outside. We can talk." "No," she said, louder this time. "There's nothing left to talk about." She turned to the guests. "Sorry, everyone. There won't be a wedding." Gasps. Whispers. Mom stood up from her table, looking like she'd been slapped. "Lauren, what are you talking about? What is this? Some kind of prank?" Lauren looked at her, and for a moment, I thought she might crumble. But she didn't. "Ask Eric," she said simply. Every head in the room turned toward me. I hadn't moved from my spot in the corner. I didn't need to. I wasn't the center of this story. Lauren was. She walked toward me, stopped right in front of me. "I'm sorry," she said, eyes brimming but firm. "For laughing. For letting them treat you like that. For everything." I nodded. Swallowed. "I just didn't want you to marry someone who didn't deserve you." She smiled, but it was a tired, sad smile. "Thank you for saving me." Then she turned back to the room. "Everyone, dinner's still being served. You might as well eat. I already paid for it." And with that, she walked out, head held high, spine straight, like a queen exiting a battlefield she just won. Ryan chased after her, stumbling through chairs and muttered judgment. "Lauren, wait, please." She didn't turn back. Not once. What happened next unraveled like a slow, satisfying storm. Ryan tried everything in the days that followed, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, even claiming the video was AI-generated. But it didn't matter. Lauren had copies. Maya had backups. James had timestamps. And Zoe had proof. The perfect reaction shots, the look on Ryan's face, the way the entire room shifted against him in one unspoken vote. And the final nail? One of the bridesmaids posted a TikTok recap of the rehearsal dinner. It went viral within 24 hours. Caption: "He tried to humiliate her brother." She exposed his cheating live. No wedding. Just justice. 10 million views. Even the hotel responded in the comments. "We don't tolerate cheaters. We do offer breakfast until 11. Ryan lost everything. The wedding, the money he spent, Lauren's prenup ensured he got nothing. The new job offer he'd been bragging about. Rescinded the moment HR saw the video. Turns out tech companies don't like being associated with viral scandals. Lauren moved out of their shared condo 2 weeks later. She took only the things she paid for, which was almost everything. I got a text from her the day she moved. Starting fresh. Coffee soon. I replied, only if I get to pick the playlist. Deal. Mom didn't speak to me for a week. She was embarrassed. Humiliated. Not by Ryan's cheating, but by the scene of it all. The attention. The fallout. The fact that her perfect daughter's perfect engagement had become gossip fodder for the entire neighborhood. But eventually, she came around. Dad too. Slowly. It helped that Lauren defended me every step of the way. She told them I saved her. That if I hadn't done what I did, she would have married a liar. That Eric wasn't weird, he was right. I'll admit. There was a moment, sitting on the porch swing a few nights after it all went down, when Mom finally handed me a slice of pie and said, "You were brave." And I didn't know how to respond. So I just said, "Thanks." She looked away, wiping her eyes. Don't let it go to your head. The best part? I didn't feel like the weird brother anymore. I wasn't a prop in someone else's story. I wasn't background noise. I was me. Eric Langston. The guy who caught a snake in the backyard with a laundry basket once. The guy who built a budgeting app for fun. The guy who protected his sister when no one else saw the danger. The guy who saw through the glitter and charm and exposed the truth, without ever raising his voice. I didn't need to be loud. I just needed to be ready. And I was. 6 months later, I'm still working with James, now full-time. We just landed a new client. I'm leading a small dev team. It's not flashy, but it's steady. Real. Mine. Zoe and I go for long walks now. Sometimes with coffee, sometimes without. She's teaching me photography. I'm teaching her Python. Lauren started writing again. Little essays about strength, resilience, self-worth. She posted one on Medium last week. It ended with a line that stopped me cold. Sometimes your real knight doesn't ride in on a horse. Sometimes he shows up with receipts. I saved it. I printed it. It's framed on my wall now. Because it's true. And because after everything, after the lies, the laughter, the long silence, I finally found my voice. And this time, I'm not giving it back.